Welcome to JavaScript Programming Concept 2. In this video, we're going to see how we can use JavaScript to perform mathematical operations. In doing so, we're going to review order of operations, as well as explore some shorthand operations for manipulating variables, as well as some special capabilities that are available to us through the math object. So let's get to it. So just to orient you to our Replit project, we have an onload which calls the main function. And in the main function, we're going to explore the various things we can do with mathematical operations, and we're going to display it to the console. Everything that we do here can be, or I should say, is applicable to, working with information that's on your web page. But again, because we're just covering the fundamentals of the concept, we're going to use the console to display our information. So first thing, let's create some variables. So let's create x equals 9 and y is equal to 3. Let's create another variable for our results. And let's do some operations. Again, hopefully a lot of this seems intuitive because ignoring everything else, this would be something you could see in a math class. So the result could equal to x plus y. And again, let's display our results to the console. And we should get 12. Good. I would be a little worried if we didn't get 12 because that means that the computer is doing some different type of math. Again, everything that you've learned in math class is applicable in programming. So let's go through another arithmetic operator, subtraction. So 9 minus 3 gives us 6. Multiplication is the asterisk. So this would be 9 times 3, 27. We could also do division, which is the slash, which would be 9 divided by 3. And the last one I'm going to cover is the exponent operator. Now, this was introduced in 2016. Prior to 2016, you would have to do something different to do exponents. And I'll show you that as well further in the video. So this would be 9 raised to the 3. And just to kind of review some of these, if you go to W3 Schools, here are the arithmetic operators. You will see an extra one not covered in this video, which is the modulus operator. Has a very unique use case for it. I'll let you explore that on your own. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to explore these operators, the plus, plus, minus, minus, as well as something else called shorthand operators. These particular operators are used to manipulate the variables. So let me comment out this console so we don't play around with it. And let's say I simply wanted to increase the value of x by 1. Oops. I can do that, and let's simply display value of x. And there we go. So x started as 9. We increase the value of x by 1. That's what this plus plus means. That increases by 1. Now, some students might be tempted to do an x plus 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 to increase it by 2. That doesn't work. Again, there's only plus plus and minus minus. So let me show you that one as well. All right, so again, the value of x started off as 9. We increase it by 1, making it 8. But let's say you do want to increase the value of x by 2, 3, 4. So how do we do that? Well, there's another version of this kind of increase in a value to a variable called shorthand operators. And what you end up doing here is that you put the operation followed by the equal sign. What this will do, this will increase x by 2. So let's see that. So x is 9, we increase it by 2, becomes 11. Now this is very flexible. You could put whatever number you want. 13. You could also use any operation that I just covered in terms of arithmetic operators. So I can also do minus. So this would be the value of 9 decreased by 4. It becomes 5. You can also use multiplication. Now, again, once you get into multiplication division, that requires a little more understanding as to what's happening and why you would want to do this. But this essentially takes the value of 9, multiplies it by 4. So we get the value of 36. We can also do division. Now for this, well, you know what, let me let me leave it as 4. It's not going to be a nice division, but it actually wasn't so bad, 2.25. And we can also use the exponent operator. So this is literally saying, take the value of 9, raise it to the 4th power, and then sign it back to the value of x. Again, this becomes very handy when you're doing something that's repetitive and you need to routinely increase the value of a variable. All right, the last thing we want to discuss, and for this I'll also, let me comment out this, and might as well comment out this one as well, is the math object. So there's certain things that are not available through basic arithmetic operators, such as the square root. Now I'm going to cover this one as well, the math.pal, because prior to 2016, this operator, the asterisk operator, was not available. So let me demonstrate this one using a result. So if I wanted to do something like x squared, I can call the math object. So I'm going to type the word math and then call the appropriate function. So for instance, the PAL function was that exponent operator. What it needs is the base followed by the exponent. And again, this is the equivalent of doing x squared. Now let's do console.log of results. And there we go. So this would be the equivalent of doing 9 squared. Now there's other operators as well. So we could do square root. Let me say other functions available to us. Now for each of these functions, you have to know what the parameters are. So for instance, for square root, you only need one value. So this will take the square root of 9. Again, which number multiplied by itself gives us the value 9. So the value of 3. There are some other, let me not say others. There's a lot of things available to us through the math object. So we could do absolute values. You got all your trigonometric functions such as sine, cosine, tangent. You got special functions to simply determine the largest and smallest things from a group of numbers. Again, a very useful feature here. And there's also math.random, which can be used in some kind of simulations and video games. So I'm going to explore a couple more. So let's do the math.random. And if you keep running the program a couple times, you'll see that it's always producing a number, random number, different random number. The one thing to note is that the numbers between 0 and 1. Again, in a future lesson, the use of random numbers will be explored more. The last thing I want to cover is that also available to us through the math object are certain variables. So it's not just functions, it's certain variables. One variable that can be very useful is the value of pi. So you can see here it gives us pi's to, quite a few number of digits, probably more than what we need to use in the applications we will create. But just realize that if you want a good estimate for the value of pi, the math object has that. And again, if you go back to W3 Schools, I believe they have them up top. Some other examples. Yeah, there we go. Some other examples of variables, constants that are available to us through the math object. All right, so let's go back to our presentation. And let's review what we've done. So in this JavaScript Programming Concept 2, we explored mathematical operations. Now again, these programming concepts exist in all programming languages. Some of the syntax might be different, but the concept is still the same. Again, programming has to follow the same rules that we do in our real-world application of mathematics. Because if it didn't, the programs would be kind of useless. So hopefully you're excited to, apply these mathematical operations to your own applications and enjoy.